Who said that? You, Mr. Pumpkin?
Scared you, didn't I?
You shouldn't go around scaring people like that.
But I have to. Tonight is Halloween.
Of course. Can we help you scare everybody, Mr. Pumpkin?
Be my ghost.
Hunting we will go, said one little ghost to another little ghost. A hunting we will go. It's Halloween, you know. We'll scare the people so, said two little ghosts to another little ghost. Come on and join the fun. We'll boo at everyone, 'cause Halloween's begun. The three little ghosts got together and found a witch's broom. It was neat to wear a sheet and fly through everybody's room. They scared all the folks with the very scary jokes and said, we'll miss this so. Until next year, you know, when a hunting we will go.
That's right, a haunting we will go. Hello there, everyone. It's me, Victoria Sautee, here in the Glittery Bunker with the special Halloween episode of Let's Learn Stuff. If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of getting it done.
Let's learn stuff!
With Victoria Sautee. Well, hello there, everyone. Thanks for joining me here. I've been waiting so long to see you again. I've redecorated the Glittery Bunker in a spooky Halloween theme, haven't I? And I'm so excited to get the show started. There's so much that I want to tell you about. First of all, we'll start, of course, as we do every week, with our word of the day. And today's word is quagmire. Quagmire, do you know that word, lovies? Do you? Quagmire, it's something that's awkward, like me trying to get around this word, or complex, or maybe a hazardous situation. I'll use that in a sentence, darling. If Jane continues to misbehave, she'll find her life is a quagmire. That's right. No, it could also mean that the ground is wet after a large rain or something. The rain has turned the grass into a quagmire. That's right. I have no idea why I chose that word, because tonight's show is anything but a quagmire. It's all about Halloween, and there it is there. Now, some people don't spell it that way. They choose this form that's Halloween there with the little mark in the middle there. You see it. Some people call it All Halloween. Well, I guess that would be a lot of people celebrating Halloween would call it All Halloween, but there's an old version of the word, or All Hallowtide. All Hallowtide, Halloween. All Halloween, All Hallowtide, and let's not forget All Hallows Eve. You could call this day anything you like, darling. It's a celebration to remember the dead. That's what it's from. It dates back to 1745, and it means Saints' Evening. Saints' Evening. That's right. It may have come about from the ancient Celtic times, and here's a picture. Here's a little photograph I took of an ancient Celtic festival. Here's another little snapshot. This one's in black and white of the Celts there having their little All Hallowtide ween, whatever it is. But some say that it may have just be another Christian holiday. That's right, darling. It was believed on Halloween night that phantoms walked the face of the earth. Oh, it's spooky, isn't it, darling? But people started dressing up, said that the phantoms would not recognize them. That's where our little costumes come from. It was called souling, or sometimes it was called guising. That's right. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And did you know that instead of our friend, the jack-o'-lantern that we love, there, oh, hello, jack-o'-lantern, that's my little buddy there. He's joining me for the show tonight. He might appear later in the show. But we didn't have jack-o'-lanterns. We did not carve pumpkins. We carved turnips, and there's a turnip there, and here's another one, a rather odd one, and the turnips were meant to ward off phantoms, and this turnip right here, he'd ward off anything. He's actually warding me off right now, darling. He is. Now, did you know that Halloween has its own bread? And I bet you didn't. You thought it was candy and chocolates and costumes. No, it's about bread, darling. This is the Brombrack. There it is. Now, some people just call this brack, but it is officially called a Brombrack. It is an Irish sweet bread. You see those little dots there? Those aren't bugs, darling. Those are raisins. And it's a sort of has a sweet taste. Maybe some of those warm autumn spices stuck there in your bread, and something else is stuck inside of a Brombrack bread. Little prizes. That's right, sort of like on King's Day when you put a little baby in the cake for Mardi Gras. Well, they don't put a baby in this one, no. They put several different items, and it tells you a fortune depending on what you eat. So if you get a pea, that's bad luck. You don't want to bite into a pea. It means you'll have bad luck. It means you might not ever get married. That might be a blessing to some people. If you find a piece of cloth in your slice, that means you will choke. It also means you will be poor if you find the piece of cloth. Now, if you find a coin, guess what? It means you'll be rich. Isn't that ingenious? A coin means rich. And if you find a ring, well, then you will get married. Like it or not, darling. And that's the story of the Brombrack. I'm never going to eat that bread. I don't want to eat a bread with that many things in it that aren't my teeth. You know, one of the things about Halloween that I love so much is costumes. I mean, I find it thrilling to put on a costume and a wig and some makeup. And, well, as you can imagine, I celebrate Halloween a lot, darling, don't I? But I want to talk to you about Mr. Ben Cooper. He is the Holston of Halloween. He is, and he made costumes from the late 1930s right through the 1980s. That's quite a long time, Ben. Now, Ben created those boxed costumes, you know, that you'd buy in your little store, your W.T. Grant, your McCrory, your Woolworths. And here, look at that example of the little box, and inside that little box would be a little plastic mask and a vinyl smock, and you'd put that on and you'd think you were everything. He made so many different varieties. Here's a page from his catalog there. Isn't that lovely? Now, Ben was born in New York in 1906, and he was a very famous costume designer. He designed some of the frocks that the gals wore at the Cotton Club on the show, and also at the Ziegfeld Follies, which was sort of like the pinnacle of theater in New York in its day. He designed those costumes. He did. Now, during the Great Depression, Broadway took a little closure for a while there, and there weren't that many shows for him to put his stamp on or to design. But what was happening was Halloween was becoming more and more popular, and he had an idea to make Halloween costumes. Well, he called up a gentleman named Walt Disney, and he said, Walt, can I have the rights to make a costume version of Donald Duck and then perhaps another costume of Snow White? And he did that, and that was his first boxed vinyl smocked costume. He did so many over the years, and he lasted until the 1980s, and his business took a little tumble. People's tastes were going away from the boxed costumes. He sold his business to his rival College Town, which basically did the exact same thing for a slightly bit longer, darling. Now, I'd like to take you on a little tour of some of Ben Cooper's favorite costumes. Actually, these are not his favorite. These are my favorite, darling, because it's my show. It is. Let's have a look. Here's the Village People costume. Yes, that's the leather man with his little vinyl smock with a picture of his fellow village persons on it. And here is, this is meant to be Laverne and Shirley. I'm going to guess that's Shirley in there. Yes, that must be Shirley. It doesn't look very much like Laverne. Here, this is a treat, isn't it? This is the Brady Bunch. Yes, the Brady Bunch, and they just got a little Zorro mask there. But if you look closely on the chest of the vinyl smock, you'll see all of the Brady Bunch. I think even Alice is in that picture, darling. She is. Here's the fawns. Yes, a very tiny fawns. And it's interesting that children would think they were the fawns by having a picture of the fawns on their chest. Here is Land of the Lost, of course, and all the way to Jaws. You can see where the eyes go there, can't you, darling? Yes. This is supposed to be Donny Osmond, and Donny Osmond, he looks like Shirley from Laverne and Shirley. I think it's the same mask. I do. This one is simply called Hippie. That's it. It's just a hippie. And this is Ringo Starr. This is the most frightening mask I've ever seen in my life. That I just can't get over it. Let's get rid of it right now. This is Farrah Fawcett, who looks more like Donny Osmond than Donny Osmond does. He really does. But it's a lovely costume. How many of you out there wore some of these costumes? Let's hear from you, darling. Who's out there? Who's wearing these costumes? Well, Emma is wearing the Brady Bunch outfit right now. That's right. I'll bet you are, darling. I know that you have an affinity to that bunch. Now, let's see. I want to show you some photos of people wearing Ben's wares. So here, now, be warned, darlings. It's a little frightening. Here it is. These little masks on children. They're scary. They are. There we have Bambi and some. I don't know who they are. Here's a sofa full of Ben Cooper. I like the Casper's on the one side, the devil, a clown, maybe, what's that, a nun in the picture, a princess, and Cornelius from Planet of the Apes. This next one, this is quite frightening, that little monster and that lady reaching for her chocolates and not knowing that there's a little ogre right there in a doorway, in a screen door. She needs new drapes too. And here's a merry lot with their little bags. These are a little more generic. There's no Farrah Fawcett there. It looks like it might be a pirate and another devil and I don't know what's that, a gypsy maybe? Here's a whole classroom just filled with little ones all dressed up for trick-or-treating. And look, they got little pudding there on their tables. I think they do. And here's some grown-ups, because the grown-ups love Halloween. They do, darling. Look at the peanut. That she's a mess is what she is. And here's a lovely color shot. No plastic masks here. These are all real people. And I just love this picture. And I wish I had been invited to that party. I do, darling, I do. Now, I want to talk to you about some spooky TV programs. I mentioned Casper the Friendly Ghost, but I don't want to talk about him. And you might think I'm going to talk about the ghost and Mrs. Muir, but I'm not going to do that. I'd like to start my little expose into Halloween television with the Munsters. Yes, the Munsters. Remember them living at 1313 Mockingbird Lane? Let's have a look at the opening of the show. Okay, now that was the first season. Now in the second season, it looked like. Which did you prefer? I think I like the second one better. The show only lasted 2 seasons, and they did an opening for each year. Well, they were a lovely family, the Munsters there. The lovely Yvonne DiCarlo, who who apparently was a little bit of a early day Patty Lupone. She wanted everything her way, and she got along with nobody. And of course, Fred Gwynne, a handsome man in or out of makeup. Now, playing that very same year, this is 1964, was on another network, was this show. It was The Addams Family, and they literally were on television at the same time. Of course, The Addams Family, based on the drawings of Charles Addams from the New Yorker magazine. And did you know that the characters didn't have any names when they were in the comics? The names were created just for this TV show, and just like its friends down the street on the Munsters, it only lasted 2 seasons, darling. What a shame. What a terrible shame. Now, to switch gears, from 1964, same year, to 1972, was a long-running series called Bewitched. Bewitched, it was about a mortal man who married a witch, and there's the lovely cast. There's Darren and Samantha and Endura. It was created by Saul Sachs, who wanted to combine 2 movies that he liked. One was called I Married a Witch, and the second, Bell, Book and Candle. And he came up with this idea for the show. And what I like most about the show is it's a very strong company of actors. Elizabeth Montgomery as Samantha, and there is Agnes Moorehead as her mother. There were 2 Darrens, Dick Sargent to the right, Dick York to the left. They played in different seasons when the first Darren took ill. Of course, the lovely little Tabitha, that's Erin Murphy there, and so many brilliant character actors. Here we have Alice Pierce and Sandra Gould, who both played Gladys Kravitz, of course, and then you had the family uncle Arthur Paul Lind. And there you had Bernard Fox as Dr. Bombay. And here's Alice Ghostly, aptly named for this series, playing Esmeralda. And then you have Sylvia Sidney, famous Academy Award-winning Sylvia Sidney, and the lovely Retta Shaw as Enchantra and Hagatha. And, oh, my favorite, of course, Marion Lawn as Aunt Clara. And then two in smaller roles. There was Mabel Albertson, who played Darren's mother. She played everyone's mother in the 60s. And then, of course, next to him is David White, who played Larry Tate. I couldn't give a hoot about Larry Tate. I couldn't. I don't know why I put his picture up there. I don't know why I did that. But 2 of those women there. Now, Marion Lawn was a wonderful actor. And here's a sample of her in an Alfred Hitchcock film called Strangers on a Train. She's lovely.
Oh, but you have that look, dear. I always can tell. Now, you haven't been doing anything foolish. Well, I do hope you've forgotten all about that silly little plan of yours.
Which one?
About blowing up the White House.
Oh, Ma, I was only fooling. Besides, what would the president say?
You're a naughty boy, Bruno. Well, you can always make me laugh.
She had a talent, that woman. She did. Now, Agnes Moorehead was another very serious actor. I want to show you a clip of her in a movie called Citizen Kane, where she's about to send her son off for his fortune. She makes a very difficult decision to send her son away. It's for his own good, but look at the expression. Feel the pain in this little clip of Agnes Moorehead.
He is to come into complete possession.
Charles! Go on, Mr. Thatcher.
Well, it's almost 5, Mrs. Kane. Don't you think I'd better meet the boy?
I've got his trunk all packed. I've had it packed for a week now.
Just a brilliant performer. Let's turn the tables now, and let's have a nice little moment of What for What, my new little feature in every show about something that we just don't understand. And today on What the What, we're going to bob for apples. That's right. We call it bobbing for apples, but around the world, it's known as snap apple, it's known as duck apple, and it's known as apple duking. Apple duking. Look at that woman duking for that apple in there. Again, this was an ancient Celtic ritual. It was made popular, however, in ancient Rome. They did everything there in Rome, didn't they? Young people would try to eat the apple without the use of their hands, which, by the way, is how you should eat everything. I knew a nurse once who used to like to eat spaghetti without the use of her hands. But sometimes the apples had nothing to do with water bobbing in there, but they would just be on a string there. What a terrible little what it really is. Now, we can't talk fully about Halloween without talking about some candy, and I have an expert waiting in the wings. You know him, I know him, we all love him. Let's bring in Mr. Dazzle. Where are you? There you are.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. Dazzle. You look dazzling tonight.
Thank you. I'm trying to get my spooky on.
Well, I think you've achieved it. I can see it there. It's sticking out.
You actually just caught me reaching for some candy from my favorite little pumpkin. But I guess we should talk about how this guy started out, right?
I want to know all about that Twix.
Yeah. As you mentioned a couple times already in the show, a lot of the customs we have for Halloween actually come from ancient Celtic festivals. A lot of the things like the ducking for apples, making the barnbrack, trying to find your husband through food. A lot of food had rings planted in it, or there were little rituals that people would do to find the name of their husband. But the interesting thing is how food and the idea of this dressing up and trick-or-treating kind of came together through the last 2,000 years to be what we know today as trick-or-treating. Yes. If you want to go back to the turn of the Common Era, we had Celtic festivals where people would make bonfires and have banquets and dress in animal pelts because they did believe that the spirits would roam the earth. That was the day that the veil between worlds was thinnest. And as the Celts were slowly taken over by the Roman Empire, they sort of adapted all of their customs. So by the 8th century, we had people participating in what was called mumming, which you mentioned, which is dressing up. Oh yeah, there we are. Dressing up, and they would actually perform tricks in order to get food from different people in town. Now, by about 1000 Common Era, the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire had sort of such a far-reaching, expansive grab on all of Europe that all of this culture was combined. And so people started to take all of these customs and turn them into Catholic traditions. So around that time, they renamed the 2nd of November All Souls Day. Ooh,
that's my picture for All Souls Day.
I love it. It's got at least 8 souls there. So All Souls Day was November 2nd, and it was meant to be the day that you honored the dead. Of course, that meant that all the older Celtic traditions had to be changed, at least in spirit. So now they were done for the reasons of the church. So if you were going out mumming, or as it was known, souling or guising, which you said, you would do it with your turnip lantern, and you would ask for things like soul cakes, which were these. They're a simple cake made with dried fruit and nuts usually. A lot of old baked goods had dried fruit and nuts in them. So if you're into fruit cake, it was a really good time to be alive. If you're not, I'm so sorry. All you could get were soul cakes. But they would go souling for soul cakes, and then in exchange for them, they would be asked to pray for the people in the house and the anyone who was on their prayer list as well. You know, so if I was offering you a soul cake, I'd say, hey, pray for my brother. And that was sort of the exchange, the trick or treat moment. Instead of candy, it was cake and prayers. Now in Scotland and Ireland, they still had this. They referred to it as guising. Ooh, wow, there's people dancing with devils?
They're guising, Mr. Dazzle. They are guising.
Those are devils in disguising. But they would go out in the Celtic traditions and wear costumes and perform tricks as well for their rewards. Now, fall customs like this were practiced for essentially 1900 years. And when there was a huge immigration boom into the United States around the end of the 19th century, so late 1800s or so, a lot of people from that area came over here. We had a lot of Irish immigrants and English, etc. And so they would actually carry those customs with them. Now, we already kind of had them because that's who settled the country originally, at least the Puritans did. They had these sort of English or Roman versions of the customs. But when there was a boom, it became sort of ubiquitous. And so everybody was now very interested in the idea of going out and performing tricks and making cakes and these fall festivals. So I have, I have a list here of all the wonderful little things that people would give out. See, early on, you had to make your own cakes and cookies, but by the turn of the 20th century, we had the Industrial Revolution. So everything was becoming automated, which meant you could mass produce things, which meant instead of making your own chocolate bar, you could buy one from Milton Hershey. So in the early 1900s, people were giving out homemade cakes, nuts, fruit, and also things from a sweet shop. Like you could get buttercups, they were called, which were sort of like a butterscotchy buttercup thing. You could get all sorts of chocolate covered nuts, dried fruit covered in chocolate, because everyone likes nuts and dried fruit. By the 1920s, they were actually marketing packaging. And so your fruit and your nuts would go into something that was black and orange for the holiday. And
my fruit and nuts have gone into something blackened and orange too.
Happens to the best of us. So they started to do that, and the packaging actually became very important. It was particular to the holiday, which was sort of a first, for the history of it. Now, around that time, into the 20s, trick-or-treating starts to become a thing in the U.S. So, I love that. So trick-or-treating wasn't really a term that we can peg down where it came from. We do know there's a publication in Canada from 1927 that has a short blurb about children banging on the door of a house asking for tricks and treats, and the phrase trick or treat is printed in there. So that's sort of the first time it was in print, but we don't exactly know where the phrase came from. However, people were asking for treats, begging for them door to door around the early to mid 1920s. That was when it really boomed in America. And once companies saw that they could make money off of this, it became even bigger. So by the 1930s, we had all of the famous candies that but in addition, they were giving out things like nuts and fruits, as well as small toys, actually. Here's some dried apricots to show you exactly what these. Can you imagine walking around with a sack and asking for dried apricots, dressed in one of those vinyl? Now, by the 1940s, of course, we were fully into World War II, which meant there was a sugar shortage. So the usual candies that we had were sort of falling to the wayside. Even Hershey actually supplied candy to the troops to energize them, so there wasn't as much in the States. However, this also meant that because there were less people around watching their children, Mischief Night became a thing, and it was huge. The vandalism and actual danger people were in the 1930s and into the 40s because of it spurred a lot of societies on to make rules about what Halloween should be, enforcing curfews, trying to get parents to remove the grotesque things from Halloween and put only cute, fun things in there so kids would want to party and not wreck property. So that continued for a couple decades. But now when we get into the 1950s and the war is over, there's a baby boom, and suddenly America's full of children. So what do children want? They want Cracker Jack and popcorn balls and anything sort of homey and fun like that. Now remember, there should be a caveat. There's always a Hershey bar floating in the back of every single Halloween. There's always like a Hershey bar somewhere. But in addition to that, popcorn balls, Cracker Jacks, that sort of thing were very 1950s. When we get into 60s, these big established companies started doing things like releasing their products in small, fun-size packaging. So Sun-Made Raisins made a 14-pack that they would wrap in cellophane for the occasion. TV Time actually made I don't know what the actual name of it is, but essentially it was a bib for children to wear with a pouch that you could fill with popcorn and then eat like a feed bag. So
I would wear that.
We turned our children into Halloween horses. So a lot of innovation starting to happen. And of course, by the 1970s, the homemade thing was done, and everyone was really focusing on trying to just get as much candy in recognizable wrappers as possible, which, I, of course, happen to like, being a chocoholic. Throughout all of this, of course, we have the Hershey Company, the Mars Company, Reese. All of them were making these candies, and they really were able to keep all of their companies alive, even through the Depression and the war and all of that. And by the 1970s now, I mean, they're the biggest part of Halloween. They're the biggest selling thing.
I believe, Mr. Dazzle, that I keep Hershey's alive right now with the amount of candy that I fill in my little Halloween box.
I'm sure you do. Well, what's your favorite candy, Victoria?
Well, I like a dark chocolate, darling. I do. I like the little special darks from Hershey's, or maybe a Mounds bar.
A Mounds bar? I think I have a Mounds bar down here somewhere.
Well, you save that for me, and much later on Halloween night, we'll meet and we'll exchange Halloween candies. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. A wealth of knowledge as always, Mr. Dazzle. Happy Halloween to you.
Happy Halloween to you, Victoria. Take care, everyone. Be spooky.
Now, speaking of spooky, my next guest is the Queen of Spooky, locally here in Connecticut. She is the proprietor of the Spirits of Milford Ghost Walks. That's right, here in Milford, I believe we might have some ghosts. And to join us and tell us a little bit more about what she does, let's bring on Cindy Wolfe Boynton to the show. Cindy!
Hello, how are you? I have
wonderful.
my lantern here, all ready to go out on a ghost walk.
I've got chills already. Now, Cindy, tell me something. I didn't know this. Do we have ghosts here in Milford, Connecticut?
Of course we do. Of course we do. So Connecticut is one of the most haunted states in the nation. And Milford is one of the oldest cities in the state. And if you were to make a list of the things that tend to make a place haunted, the very first thing that you would put on that list is age. And so you actually can't get much older in Connecticut than Milford. And actually our walk starts at the exact spot where the Reverend Peter Pruden founded Milford in 1639.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Now, when you walk by this spot, does he appear? Do you see him? Do you feel him?
So that spot is down by Fowler Field. And that is, so, there are lots of paranormal and unexplainable things that happen down at Fowler Field. Everything from people seeing disembodied lights, right? Different colored orbs that seem to float around. Also to seeing what appeared to be the spirits of some of the Native Americans who lived there even thousands of years before the settlers came.
My goodness! And when we go on one of your walks, how long does it take to see all these wonderful sights?
So it all depends on how enthusiastic the crowd is. But it's a little over a mile. It's a walk that goes through downtown Milford. Our last stop is Milford Cemetery, because what better time to be in Milford Cemetery than when it's super dark outside? And there's 7 spots along the way. And so you never know what you're going to see or experience. We carry ghost meters along with us, that they're EMF detectors that buzz and blink when there's a surge in spiritual energy. And they go off quite a bit. And we've gotten some amazing photographs over the years.
Oh my goodness, I've got the chills, Cindy. I do. And now, do you just do these spirit walks when it's Halloween time?
Not just Halloween time. The COVID crisis made it a little bit different and difficult this year. So we generally start around the end of March, and from March to early September, we probably do about 2 weekends a month. And then from beginning of September till this year, November 21st, we do every weekend. And actually for this weekend and almost all of next week, we are sold out. We've been sold out almost the entire month of October.
My goodness. Now, tell me something that's gone on at one of your walks that you remember that's very out of the ordinary.
Oh my goodness. There's so many different stories. So one night when we were right outside of Milford Cemetery, which happens to be the oldest continuously operated cemetery in the United States. But one night when we were outside of Milford Cemetery, right about to walk down Burial Ground Lane to go into the back of Milford Cemetery, it was one of the nights of the World Series playoffs, and there were several people who were checking their phones. And just as we started to walk into the cemetery, everybody who was on their phones, they all stopped and reset at exactly the same time.
Oh my goodness. Palpitations, darling. I can't believe it.
Yep. There's actually also another house on High Street where that is extremely old, that was lived in by more than one of the first families, that we had 3 occasions over the past 6 years where the ghost monitors have been going off and like crazy in front of the houses. And as people were taking photographs, everybody who was taking photographs lost all the photos off their cameras and phones at the same time.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I want to go on the tour now.
You do want to go.
I have some photos in here that can't be recovered. Well, it sounds just amazing. Now, if I wanted to take one of your walks, how would I go about doing it? Where would I find out more?
So you would go to spiritsofmilford.com and you would click on the link for upcoming walks. And so that will take you to purchase tickets. We also give private walks for groups of 10 or more. And actually, we also do fundraisers. So nonprofit organizations, it's a really fun way to earn some money for your organization while really doing some nice community building. And I have to tell you, ghost walkers are the nicest people. I meet the most incredible people every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night and have a ball.
Well, it sounds just wonderful. I'm going to have to do it. And I know some of our viewers out there will be taking advantage of that. Cindy, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you. Look for me in my lantern. You see us walking around.
We totally will. Well, have a happy Halloween and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's delightful. I just love it. Now, I think I hear someone coming up the path now. I do. Someone's at the door. Oh my goodness. It's one of those ghosts from Cindy's tours. I know it is. Who could it be, darling? Who could it be?
Hello, dearies. It's me, Victoria Sautee.
You're not me. I'm me.
I mean, I'm a witch. That's right. Witch with a W. Witch.
Well, I suppose you're trick-or-treating, aren't you, darling?
I suppose you're right.
Now, if you haven't seen the show before, this is Dick and Jane from the book Fun with Dick and Jane, who spend their time harassing me every time I come. And to appease these little monsters here, I have some treats for you.
Good.
Here you go. Have a Mr. Goodbar. Would you like that?
Yeah, I'll take it.
There you go. Put it in your little thing. And now, how would you like a Mounds or a Kit Kat, Dick?
I like dark chocolate.
Okay, then you'll have the Mounds.
Oh,
there you are, and you can put that in there.
Yeah. What else?
What else?
Yeah. What else?
My little witch's cap is coming out. I have a Kit Kat bar.
I'll take it. I'm only doing this house because of COVID. I'm not going too far.
And here is a what is this? A peanut butter cup.
Right. Oh, my favorite. Oh.
And I'm going to keep the little Hershey bar for myself.
Oh man.
Well, thank you very much for stopping.
All right, trick or treat. Bye, everyone. Bye, Victoria. Oh, bye, Victoria.
All right. Little monsters they are. They shouldn't be trick-or-treating tonight. It's not even Halloween. But I'll let them because, after all, it's my show. Now, we're going to take a little spin into the kitchen. I have something lovely for you. Now, I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking, well, it's probably going to be some more of the hot dogs and spaghetti, because that's a very creepy thing, isn't it? And if you haven't seen this before, you simply stick your spaghetti through your dog, and you can make some wonderful creations like these little spiders or those little, I don't know what they are. They're some kind of an animal. We've taken some ziti, and we've made our hot dogs look like fingers, which is very spooky. And this is just the spookiest thing. It's hot dogs sliced up so thinly they spook you. They do. And how about this? To try to fit that in your mouth and a roll full of candy corn. I'm not going to do any of those things, darling. I have a lovely recipe. It's quite simple. If I can find my little sheet here to show you what so you need 3 things for this. You need an apple and some Skippy peanut butter and some little marshmallows, and I'm very lucky to have them all right here. I've wrapped my apple. What I've done with my apple is, I'll show you, don't worry. I've taken it and I've sliced it into little slices like this, several of them. And now I'm going to take my peanut butter, and I'm going to butter 2 of those slices. So here's my butter on one. Can you see me do it? It's messy, and I'm wearing an expensive dress, so I'm going gingerly on this. Now I'm going to put some peanut butter on my second one, just like that, darling. I am. Now watch what I do. Here's where the fun comes. I'm going to take my little mini marshmallows, darling, and I'm going to place them. I'm going to place them right along the peel side of my little apple there. That's what I'm doing. Can you see me do it? It's wonderful, it is. And once I get to the end, I'm done. And then I'm going to take my other buttered end, and I'm going to, if I can do this without getting too messy, I don't know that I can. I can't. I'm going to put that right on top of that one. And what I have is a disgusting little smiling face. Do you see what I have there? I neglected to give myself a napkin tonight, so I'm going one-handed here. But this is what it should look like. Mine does not look like that at all. Mine is a hot mess. But this is what happens when you go into the kitchen without a napkin on your table, so that we can get to the next segment. So the next segment, darling, is one of everyone's favorite parts of the show. It's the match game. Now, here we are with the match game, darling, where you try to match what I'm going to say. Now, I'm going to hold up a little clue, and it's your job to stick in your little comments in there, so that we can see what you have to say. I haven't looked at my comments in quite a while there, darling. But yes, so game on, goose, game on, ghosts and ghouls. And Emmy, yes, I did put that spaghetti and hot dog on there just for you and Michael, I did. Now, I want you to try to match me. I'm going to hold up a clue. You fill in the word, darling. I'm going to fill it in, and if you match me, you will win a prize. Now, tonight, I have a fabulous prize that someone's going to win. It's a face mask for Team Jane. Last time we were here, we gave out a Dick. Tonight, we're going to give out a Jane. I want everything to be fair. It can't all be Dick, and it can't all be Jane, even though that's the way Jane likes it. Now, I've gotten some peanut butter all over my clues here, but I think you'll forgive me in the spirit of the holiday. All right, let me get my little theme song going here, and then we'll play the match game. All right. Instead of bobbing for apples on Halloween, Jane bobs for blank. Instead of bobbing for apples on Halloween, Jane bobs for blank. I'm going to write my answer down. let's see. Instead of bobbing for apples, Jane bobs for blank. There is a little delay, so wait for me, darling. Jane bobs for crab apples. Jane bobs for candy. Jane bobs for corn. Jane surely not bobs. Jane bobs for dark chocolate. Michael, I bob for that. Joe says bobs for Dick. Dick and Jane, of course. That might be the difference. Jane for prunes. Oh, that's what she gets. Oranges. Oh, does she bob for those? That would be a mouthful, Valerie. It would be, but I think Jane's got a big enough mouth to fit an entire orange in there. Oh, the music's back. Do we have any more clues? Jane bobs for compliments. That's a smart answer. Jane bobs for very small pumpkins. She bobs for peanut butter, marshmallow, apple. She can lick them off my fingers, Michael. I'm wet with peanut butter fingers. All right, I'm going to close this one down because I don't see anyone coming near. Instead of bobbing for apples, I wrote Jane bobs, where is it, for pears. I don't know, apples, pears. I thought that was an easy one. Shelley with the late plums. Joe, bananas. That's a good, I wish I thought of that, but I said plums. So nobody wins the first round, but don't worry, darlings. We have another round to go. I'll start the music and we'll start to play round 2. I should have put spooky music in tonight, shouldn't I? Dick gave Jane a special surprise this Halloween by putting blank in her trick-or-treat bag. Dick gave Jane a surprise this Halloween by putting blank in her trick-or-treat bag. I've got my answer down. Let's see what you said. Spaghetti and hot. Poop. Garbage. Sister Sally, we haven't had her on in a while, have we? A yellow dress. Joe, I can't say that by putting sorry. Were you sorry for the poop, Don? It's all right by putting nothing. Surely not. By putting cold. That's what Santa Claus would put in there. Rocks turn into cold, don't they? I don't know what they do. Well, we do. We do have a match. I believe. Let's see. Barbara said nothing. And I said nothing. Barbara, you're the winner of the round tonight. Barbara, you did it. Now, I need a picture of you in that Jane mask that you're getting. But don't worry if you didn't. We have a late entry. Don't worry if you're not the winner of that round, because I want to play a little more. It's Halloween. Let's play one more round. Here we have, let me get the music going. We haven't gotten a real jazzy music yet. I like when that one comes. So here we have Ghost Blank. Ghost Blank. Now you might not win a mask, but I'll find something for you if you win this round. Put a bag of tricks on there. Maybe you'll get some Halloween candy. Ghost. Oh, but I've put my answer in. I've sealed it. Ghost Town. Like in the old West. Ghost Town. Ghost Pepper. Oh, you're very spicy, Don, aren't you? Ghost Rider. Ghost Buster. Yes, of course, Ghost Buster. Ghost Town. Ghost Night. You theater person, you. Ghost Story. Ghost Buster. Ghost with the most. Ghost Tour. Well, that would make a lot of sense. That's our Cindy's little ghost tour, right? Ghost Patrons. Ghost starring Whoopi Goldberg. Here we go. I love this music. It's so jazzy, isn't it? Well, we have I think we have a winner here. It's all right. Stop with the jazzy music. So let's see. I'm going to scroll back along here and see who put it down. Ghost Writer! We have a winner, Emma. Well, I'm sorry you didn't get the mask, but you'll get some little trinket from me now. Now, friends, I want you to stay on, hang on for a moment. Let me get that out there. This is, we're coming to the end of our show, darling, we are. And I want to remind you that our next show is on Sunday, November 8th at 11 a.m. It's a big November show with some special guests and some special surprises. Now, between now and that Sunday morning, 2 weeks from now, I want you to stay safe. I want you to wear your mask. We've got to do it, darling. I want you to wash your hands. I want you to stay 6 feet apart. We've got to do it. It's difficult. I want you to be safe this Halloween. Be very safe. Follow all those rules. I want you to vote. That's right. Next week, if you're old enough to vote, if you haven't already, I want you to vote. And I want to leave you with some words from my friend Herman Munster. Now, this is what Herman said to his son, Eddie Munster, the little werewolf boy, so cute. He said, the lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall, short, or fat. You can be thin, ugly, or handsome like me. You can be black, yellow, or white. It doesn't matter. What matters is the size of your heart and the strength of your character. Good night, dearies. I'll see you soon.
If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of getting it done. With Victoria Sautee.
And now for my little Hershey kiss. Bye, lovies.